We're so used to him being a star, it seems strange that Dustin Hoffman was once considered too unattractive for a career in cinema. When he first told his family he wanted to act, an aunt told him, "You can't. You're not good looking enough." Life magazine once joked if Dustin Hoffman's face was his fortune, he'd have been condemned to a life of poverty. But in 1967, all that changed with The Graduate. The film is the main focus of this chat with Michael Parkinson. But before discussing his role, there came the introduction and some warm-up questions.
Welcome. I must first of all ask you, is that really your name, Dustin Hoffman?
No.
It's not. What is your real name?
Claire Booth Luce. Yes, it is.
It is. Where do you get the Dustin from?
I think my mother was calling me that when I was a child. Enough times so that I began to think it was my name.
Where did she get it from? Because it's an unusual name.
He was Dustin Farnham was a silent movie cowboy actor. And I think my mother was having an affair with him.
Did he know it?
Did Dustin Farnham know
That's
it?
That's right. I read somewhere that you didn't like doing television interviews. Would that be right?
That's correct.
That's correct. Why is that?
It makes me tighten up in my throat. And it makes my heart beat. And I feel like there's people over in this area.
You'd be right about that. Do you genuinely get nervous about going on television and being questioned?
Yes.
Why is that?
I fear that it's not all going to work out very well.
Well, it's been the most extraordinary start I've ever had to an interview, that's for sure. I shall think I might need subtitles soon.
I feel that if we start badly enough,
it can only get better. Do we agree on that?
After that start, the conversation finally moved on to The Graduate.
When you did the screen test, did you in fact feel you were right for the part?
Well, no, I wasn't right for the book. I read the book first, and anyone that had read the book would not have thought I was right for it. And indeed, I wasn't, because it was even physically described as someone quite different than me. It was described as someone who was short, with a big nose, and of course, being blonde and beautiful, I thought I was all wrong. But anyway, I went out and screen tested for it with Catherine Ross, who got the part. It was her screen test also.
Well, let's have a look then at a clip from The Graduate. We'll roll it now. It's in fact one of my favourite sequences from it. It's where it is the lead up, the prelude to the seduction scene in the hotel with Anne Bancroft. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
A room. I'd like a room, please.
Single room or a double room?
A single, just for myself, please.
Could you sign the register, please? Anything wrong, sir?
What? No, nothing.
Do you have any luggage, Mr. Gladstone?
Luggage? Yes, I do.
Where is it?
What?
And where is your luggage?
Well, it's in the car. It's out there in the car.
Very good, sir. I'll have a porter bring it in.
Oh, no. I mean, I'd rather not go to all the trouble of bringing it all in. I'd just have the toothbrush. I can get it myself, if that's all right.
Of course. I'll have a porter show you the room.
Oh, well, actually, I just as soon find it myself. I just have a toothbrush to carry up, and I can handle it myself.
Whatever you say, sir.
Thank you.
Nice sequence, that. I was reminded again what a marvellous actress that Anne Bancroft is. I mean, was your own first sexual experience anything like that at all? What are you laughing at?
When you say first sexual experience, what kind do you mean?
What kind do you care to talk about? The first time that you ever made love to a woman. In the film, in the sequence, that was the first time that he was going to make it with a woman, right?
Yes. Well, I think in the film, it wasn't necessarily, though everyone seemed to think he was a virgin, I never thought of him as that when I did the film. I thought it was the first time he was making love to a woman who was old enough to be his mother, because she was his mother's friend. So I was always looking at it from that point of view. But in the scene that we just saw, one of the things that Mike Nichols did, which I thought was wonderful, and now in these days that they seem to be doing it more and more, is we rehearsed it for 3 weeks, which you never do. And when the first day of shooting came, the entire cast could have gone on stage and performed The Graduate from beginning to end. We knew all the lines, we knew everything. And we had improvised all the way through, and things that I think are some of the best things in the film came out of improvisation. And it was Nichols' point of view that you always must be as close to yourself in the most personal way to convey not only truth, but in fact humor. Real humor perhaps is the purest truth when it works. In this scene, I'm trying to just get a room key. Now, I had never really done that in my life. As a matter of fact, I still haven't. I've never gone to a hotel. So I usually just go behind a tree.
That's the answer to my question, but go on.
But when we were rehearsing, he said, you must find in your life or think about what is the most painful thing for you to do that has sexual connotations in a public way, because here he was in front of people at the desk. And I said, for some reason that I've never understood, because I was always thought of as being rather dirty when I was in school. I mean, doing vulgar things. I never shirked from being off color in school. Nevertheless, I could never go to a chemist and order male prophylactics as opposed to female prophylactics. Those kind I could always. So I would, in high school, this was before birth control and everything, though I had not had a sexual experience, I thought I should be ready if and when it came. So I thought I should stock up. And I always would plan on a day where I felt brave. And I'd say, this is the day I'm going to do it. And I'd walk into the drugstore, and I'd search out who was behind the counter was very important. And if it was a woman, I'd turn around and walk right. I wanted someone young, but it was always an older man, which was difficult. If it was someone somehow like a big brother or image or someone closer to my age, I felt I could do it. And I would go up and I would say, I'd like some Kleenex and some razor blades, though I didn't shave. And I'd get to that word, and I couldn't do it. And I never, in my life, bought any prophylactics. So when we rehearsed this scene, he said, that's it. And in improvisations, that hotel scene was really a pharmacy.
Yes. Yeah.
And asking for a room. Because in acting, as in life, you're thinking about many different things, and what you're saying is one of the few things you're thinking about. Many other things are going on in your mind.
Yeah.
And for an actor just to act the lines or to play the lines is what we call literal acting, and sometimes uninteresting. So the mind has to be elsewhere, and as an actor, the job of the actor and the director is to make those choices where the mind is, concentrate on that, and let the words come out as they would. And that's simply all I tried to do in that scene, was to recreate that.
It was a tremendous success, The Graduate. Why do you think it was such a huge success?
They didn't think it would be. I think they thought of it as it would enjoy at that time, and what they thought would be an art house, small cult kind of following. And as a matter of fact, it got rather mixed reviews. It did not have lines outside the door like Love Story did, which came from the best-selling book. And no one seemed to know what was going to happen with it until about 4 weeks after it had opened in one theater in New York, and suddenly lines started. It was apparently word of mouth. I don't know the reason, or if there is one. I think that there were a lot of excellent things about the film. I think the music, as much as anything, of Simon and Garfunkel's, I think it probably still will go down as being one of the greatest music soundtracks to be used in a film. When one does a film, and years pass, and then you see it again, and I saw this film, I think the last time I saw it was about a year ago, I guess. You expect it to be dated and to lose certain things. And I've now done 9 films, and every time I see this film, I increase the respect. My own respect for it is increased, and I suddenly understand what an excellently made film I think it is. From a cutting point of view, the way it was edited, the way it was photographed, the rhythm of it, just forgetting about the story, the actors, just as film, it had a wonderful cinematic rhythm to it, and I think that it will last, if for no other reason, from that point of view.
The success of The Graduate meant Hoffman was immediately offered lots of carbon copy roles. He turned them all down, looking instead for the chance to create a completely different character. A chance which came with the part of Ratso Rizzo in John Schlesinger's Midnight Cowboy.
How did you come to be offered Cowboy? Was the most improbable piece of casting?
Well, the producer had seen me in this play A and had thought of me for Cowboy then. They were working 3 years to get it started. And when Schlesinger heard about me, he had seen The Graduate and thought I was totally wrong for it. But the producer was pushing it, so he agreed to meet me, and he met me in New York. And I remember I came in and met him, and he took one look at me and said, "I thought you were all wrong for this part when I saw The Graduate." He says, "But you're not really that healthy looking at all." And what I looked like in person to him was, I guess, dissipated enough for him to warrant talking about. So we talked about it, and we went out, and I think what convinced him to use me is we went to 42nd Street and spent all night there in one of the diners, and he felt I just melted into the atmosphere. In the book, the character was very vividly painted, and I wanted at the outset to be bold with it. I did not want to portray, I had a kind of image of what I wanted to try to do. I didn't want to portray a documentary type character. I wanted to have it somehow a little distorted, almost the way maybe Daumier draws. It's not caricature, but somehow it's distorted. It's real, and yet it's not Ratso. It's maybe a lot of Ratsos, a lot of people like that. And so I just felt that that's what the books did, and that's what I wanted to do. And I started following limping people around New York, and I found a limp that I liked, and it was easy for me to do Ratso. I mean, it's hard to do anything when you work on it, but it was easy because I felt I had a hook on it. There was just something about it that I felt I understood. I think I felt like Ratso for many years in New York. I would look in the mirror and I would try to get a sense of what I wanted, and I realized when I put my hair straight back like that, it just did something, and and I wanted that kind of look. I wanted my nose coming out 10 feet, and I wanted blemishes, and I wanted to dissipate myself as much as I could in terms of a real dissipation that I could feel, something so that when I put this stuff on, I could really feel that dissipation, and then have as much dignity as possible. As much dignity as possible.
Look, with these gals that want to buy it, most of them are old and dignified. Social register types, you know what I mean? They can't be trotting down to Times Square to pick out the merchandise. They gotta have some kind of middleman. And that's where old Daniel comes in, you know what I mean?
Hey! I'm walking here! I'm walking here! Up yours, you son of a bitch! You don't talk me that way! Get out of here!
We never thought in acting it of Buck or Ratso. We thought of Voight and Hoffman. And if there were moments of love between us, it was because the scene was going right. And at the same time, I'm going to act better than you are in this scene. And we brought it right out to the open. Let's see. It wasn't a case of upstaging each other. It was let's see who can really act the best in this scene. Let's see who can go. And we tried to use that as much as we could. And I think it's the strongest thing in the film, is that somehow there was a particular kind of life between us. When I saw it, I liked that. It wasn't his performance or my performance. It was somehow that thing. And Schlesinger sensed that and kept it active. We were always kind of sparring.
That interview was conducted during location shooting for the 1971 film Straw Dogs. Just one of several films Hoffman made in the 70s, which were acclaimed by both audience and critics. Now here, he is talking to Jonathan Ross about two more hits from that period, starting with the Watergate thriller, All the President's Men.
Interestingly enough is that when I was doing Papillon, I was always talking to my brother. I was in Jamaica and he was in Washington, and he would be telling me over the phone, I don't know how far, because he was in the administration. He said, I don't know how far this is going to go. It might get as far as so-and-so. It might get as far as so. That was the most unbelievable part about that experience, is that it kept, you know, everyone thought it was going to stop. Someone was going to be the scapegoat, and no one was. But Redford did something which was brilliant on that movie. He says, you know, you have your lines to learn, I have my lines to learn. I think we should learn not only our own lines, but we should learn each other's lines. I said, so I not only know Bernstein's lines, I know Woodward's lines. He says, right. I says, why? He said, I just have an idea. So I did it. I learned his lines, I learned my lines. And he did the same thing. And when we would come up to talk to people, he said, let's not decide who's going to say which words and which lines.
Hello. Hello, I'm Carl
Bob
Bernstein.
Woodward.
We'd just like to talk to Mr. Sloan for a couple minutes.
So we were one person, and that was brilliant.
It had to be symbiotic, but what made it kind of odd, and I thought chemically good, was they were totally different.
Is there any place you don't smoke?
Because Dustin and I are pretty different. I think that probably worked to our advantage.
I hated that he had come up with such a brilliant idea, because I wanted him to be dumber than me. I mean, you know, he was so wonderful looking. I wanted it to stop there.
Ross also asked about a famous exchange between Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, that has gone down as part of film folklore, but that Hoffman insists has always been taken out of context.
Let me ask you about Marathon Man. Working with Olivier, of course, must have been quite a different experience for you, I would have thought, than working with people who'd studied in the same way and approached acting in a similar method. Would I be right?
Well, there's been stuff written which hasn't been the truth.
There's the classic quote, of course. This is what I'm alluding to, where you stayed up for 3 days,
yes,
as legend would have it.
That's true.
And Olivier reportedly said, "Why not try acting, dear boy?"
Yes, but the truth of that quote is the following. My first marriage was breaking up. Studio 54 was all in vogue. And the excuse not to sleep for a weekend for your art so you could party big time. You know, love, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And I did that for my art and showed up Monday to shoot on location because I knew I had very little dialogue. I'm holding a gun. It's the end of the movie with Martha Keller. And I had the rawness of voice, and I said, yes, I've really done this for my work because I haven't, and I look like I haven't slept, the character hasn't, blah, 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 blah. Then I go to Los Angeles for the rest of the shooting, and I tell Olivier about this story, and we're both laughing about it. And that's when he said, why don't you try acting, dear boy? So the so-called cliche of the method actor, which there really is no such thing as, I mean, you just try what you make up your own choices, which is really what the method was supposed to have meant, is that it helps you find your own way.
Dustin Hoffman's quest for versatility continued in the 1980s, where he made some of the decade's most iconic films. First of these was Kramer vs. Kramer, directed by Robert Benton. It pitched Hoffman against another acting great, Meryl Streep, and won him his first Best Actor Oscar.
I think one of the things the film shows us is that that we have taken working mothers for granted, that it becomes such a special thing because a man is faced with the problem of keeping his job or even succeeding in his job while keeping a home going.
How much did your acting experience contribute to the development of this film?
I was able to collaborate on this film more than any other film I've ever worked on because Benton has a healthy ego, I think. He was not threatened. And at the beginning of pre-production where we worked on the script, I said, if I'm going to work on this film with you, I want you to give me one guarantee. And he said, what is that? I said, I want you to allow me to try anything I want. You're the deciding factor of whether it's going to wind up in the final print of the film, but I want the opportunity to do it. And he said, okay.
Tell me about working with Justin Henry. I mean, how did that relationship develop in the course of the filming?
What you see is what exists in life between us. He's the only actor I've ever worked with that I wanted to hang around with afterwards. I'd miss him, and I've liked a lot of the actors I've worked with, but I've never missed them before.
Was there any problem because he had never acted before?
In the first week or two, his concentration wasn't what it has to be when you're making a film, and by the third week, he began to want to do something extraordinary, and that was equally extraordinary to observe because he was a kid, 6, 7 years old, never done anything, and he would ask for another take, or he would say, I can do this better. He wanted to stretch, and that was, to me, inspiring to work with him.
It's really your desk?
Yep.
Oh. Are you and Mom ever going to get remarried?
No, Mommy and me will never be remarried.
I bet if she saw this, she'd remarry you.
Did you improvise scenes with him?
Always. If that's for me, I'm in the shower.
Okay, what do you want for breakfast?
Some French toast.
French toast. You want the French toast, you got. Just put up a little water for Daddy. Have some coffee. And we got how many eggs? 2 for you and 2 for me.
Yep.
We got milk. We got butter.
We got $5. I got $5 here. You sit here. Okay, and you'll be my #1 helper. Okay, now watch this. One-handed. Here we go. Did you know that all the best chefs are men? I bet you didn't know that, did you? Isn't this terrific?
He's husband, father, and in his own mind, a good one. Learns that he is not. Is forced to become a providing father and a caring father, and unbeknownst to him, enters the realm of becoming a mother. I've always felt that we have both inside of each other. I mean, that there's a man inside of a woman, that there's a woman inside of a man, and that we have arbitrarily categorized ourselves.
Those words, the feeling that there's a woman in every man, turned out to be prophetic when it came to another classic Hoffman role in the hugely popular comedy Tootsie.
Well, let's start off, Dustin, by talking about the technicalities of playing a woman, and the physical and emotional technicalities. I mean, how do you look like a woman? How do you sound like a woman? It must have presented a lot of problems.
Well, what we did was we had an agreement with Columbia Studios who did it, and that was that I wouldn't have to be forced to make the film if we couldn't accomplish what you're suggesting in the screen tests. So we spent over a year and a half, we didn't know it was going to take that long, but spent over a year and a half doing makeup tests. I have a makeup test from the very beginning. In fact, the crew, we were just talking about tape. We started testing on tape. And I have one test when we first started on tape, and I looked like a female prison warden, you know, like someone out of the, out of solitary. And we learned as we went along. In fact, I originally was going to play a nurse on the daytime soap, and we had to stop that because my neck is too big for my body as it is, as a man, and nurses always wear open collars. So we changed the character to a hospital administrator so we could clothe me with layers of clothing. And that was one thing we learned. We learned from hairstyles. I was interviewed the other day by a woman reporter, and she said, "You really could have looked more attractive, couldn't you?" And I said, "No, that's it. We wanted me to look as attractive as possible. That was the idea. Because we had seen all the films that I guess exist where men play women, and it's always been somewhat it's either camp or parodying or somehow hostile, I guess, because women, as portrayed by men, usually aren't very bright and certainly not very attractive. And I wanted to be both.
I have to tell you, I really didn't fancy you as a woman.
Why not?
Not my type.
In what way? What specifically? My body, my face, my nose?
You look like my auntie.
Oh. Would you fancy your aunt if she wasn't your aunt?
I think we get off this subject.
Hi, Phil.
You know Joel Spector.
Hello,
Hey,
Joel.
how you doing?
How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Listen, I talked to Stuart. I talked to him yesterday. He'll be one more week in London, and then he definitely
You know, you're such a tickly wickly. You've never been that ticklish before. We go back years.
He'll
we haven't
call
been
you.
introduced.
I know.
Hi.
Joel Spector.
Hi.
Joel, I'm sorry. Joel,
How are you?
I'm sorry, Phil. This
So
is
rude.
Michael.
Dorothy Michaels, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
May I say, Mr. Weintraub, that you are the best producer on the Broadway scene today.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Michaels. Hope to see you again.
Yes, let's have lunch.
Fine.
Call you.
George?
Nice meeting you.
You know, he's very handsome. I think you ought to represent him.
You are psychotic.
No, I'm not.
Listen, are you going to make a habit of this, playing both the leading man and the leading lady? Because you're going to get an awful lot of flack from actresses if you do.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to make a habit of it because I can't go into the makeup room and come out in 10 minutes and be a woman. If I could, I would make it. I'd love to take parts from Glenda Jackson and the likes. I really would. I mean, I have trouble enough finding good male parts. I'd give them a run for their money if I could. I see no reason not to. But it's too hard. We should have only been 4 weeks with the woman. We were 4 months. I mean, it's a killer, the makeup problems.
Well, I must say, Dustin, I did enjoy the performance very much indeed, so I hope it's a great success here for you. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're cute.
No, you said I wasn't your type. I'm going elsewhere.
All right.
It was another example of Dustin Hoffman pushing himself that earned him his second Oscar in 1988. The film was Rain Man. The character was Raymond Babbitt. Here we join Hoffman talking to Sue Lawley about how he got to work alongside his co-star, Tom Cruise.
Who chose Tom to star with you? You must have had a big say in that.
Not really, because the script was sent to me after many other directors and some actors had turned it down, and it was sent to me thinking I would want to play the Tom Cruise part. And
the glamorous bit.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm such a sex symbol myself. Why did that get the biggest laugh? So I liked the other guy, and at that point, my agent said, well, you remember you met this guy, Tom Cruise, like a few months before. I was doing a play on Broadway, and Tom Cruise came backstage. I didn't know him, and he introduced himself to me, told me like my work, and we wound up sitting in the dressing room for about 3 hours. And I went home to my wife, and I said, I just met this guy, Tom Cruise, and there's something weird. I said, it's like we had some kind of connection. It was like, it was a very funny feeling. It was like something very emotional between us, like we were brothers. And this was before I ever read the script. And I happened to mention it to my daughter then, who was 16, and she said, you met Tom Cruise? She said, oh, I wasn't there. She had seen Legend, a film I didn't even hear of. She'd seen it 37 times. And
had you never seen Top Gun?
It hadn't come out yet.
Huh?
I had not seen him in anything. And then I went to see Risky Business, and then it was afterwards that he made Top Gun. Or if it had come out, I guess I hadn't seen it. The funny thing was that when Cruise and I began to work, because here we're having to play brothers, over a period of a year of working on the material because we couldn't get it off the ground, and then the 4 months of doing it, we started to share personal things between each, as you do. And he started telling me about his background and his family life, and I'd tell him about mine. And we had almost parallel lives growing up as children, because neither of us had a nice childhood. And it was like we had come out of the same house. And that was what was taking place in the movie, because in the movie he doesn't know he has an older brother.
You know how to drive?
Yeah.
When did you drive?
Of course, I drove the Buick on the driveway when my dad came to Walbrook.
Well, we'll have to let you drive sometime. Raymond! You never touch the steering wheel when I'm driving. Do you hear me?
Terrific combination. However, you may have got on terribly well with him, but you got through, 4 directors and 6 writers, 8 producers before this film was made. Why did you get through? Is this par for the course working with Dustin Hoffman?
No, I just...
It's just what your reputation is.
It's my reputation. I just did a film since then, in fact, where I was the last one to be brought into the project, and 6 weeks later I started shooting and I just finished it, so some are much less difficult. This one, for some reason, the first director felt he couldn't solve it and left. The second director felt he couldn't solve it and left. And the third director left because he felt he couldn't solve the script. Tom and I were beside ourselves because we were the only ones that had done the research. And we kept saying, there's something incredibly moving about these people. And the directors would look at us and say, you can't make a film about autism. No one's interested in that. No one knows what it is. It's not what is it going to be, a film for science class in school? And we went to the studio, and the studio looked at us and almost wanted to shelve the picture. And when you think about the success that it's had in the States, it's very hard to understand why it is so successful. There's no sex, sorry, a little bit. There's no violence, there's no...
There's a kiss. There is a kiss
yes.
in the left, is there not? But you do have, Dustin, this reputation for being a perfectionist, for being a bit difficult. I mean, do you have any defense for that?
Well, the media is very powerful today, and I had a rough experience, I think, on a picture back in 1976, and that was and I've been working in film since '67, and that was the first time I heard this word difficult, and it stays. So that if it's said once, it's picked up by all the newspapers. They have to have something to say about me.
Sure, and it's also, I mean, to be called a perfectionist should be a compliment. It just seems to have taken on a kind of pejorative feel to it when applied to you, that you like to get it right, and therefore people say, oh, he is very difficult to work with, he's insistent.
Well, I think that's the idea. The idea is to do the best that you can and to really get as close to perfection as you possibly can. There's no such a thing. I remember Billie Jean King said, when she was playing tennis, she says, every time I hit a tennis ball, I try to hit the perfect ball, and there's a certain sweet spot in the center of the racket. You can hit a winner and win the point without hitting that sweet spot, but the idea is to always go for that sweet spot, and that's all I'm going to do.
And even as Hoffman approaches his 80s, his quest for acting perfection continues.
You never play it safe, you never choose the obvious character. What is it that draws you to that type of role?
Samuel Beckett, comes to mind, a great playwright, once said, try hard, try harder, fail, fail, fail better. And I think that's what to me, that's what you should be doing, whatever your work is. I always come in as somewhat as a coward when I start work, because I think the odds are against me. The odds are against the film working. The odds are against one succeeding.
Really?
But that's true, though. I know Steven Spielberg for years and years and years. I know him. And he told me that there's not a first day that goes by when it's the first day on a film that on the way to work he doesn't pull over and throw up.
No way.
And Sugar Ray Leonard was a great boxer,
Yeah.
and he said the same thing. He used to be in the bathroom, had diarrhea before every single fight he ever had. He was so scared. And he said the one day that he did a fight and he wasn't scared, he lost that fight and he quit. But he says, you know, you come out like this, you're putting on a big show, they're acting, but he says you are frightened to your bone. Why not?
And you identify with that?
Oh my God, yeah. You know, it's a little easier if you're an actor, but yes, I understand it.
As always with an A-list celebrity interview, a PR woman was hovering in the background waiting to cut us off. Happily, Dustin was having none of it.
Oh, no, don't keep her back, keep her back. No, but look, they got too many cameras here, it's too important. I have an audience, I'm an actor. Let me have some fun, for God's sake, woman.
All right, Dustin. Dustin, we love your characters that you played in Meet the Fockers and in Curb Your Enthusiasm. And doing parts like that, do you kind of think that do you feel like you've mellowed, that you're allowed to take these more playful roles?
I'm more accessible to saying yes. It's not such a torture for me to say yes anymore. It was more of a torture. Oh, who's the director? Is it really a good script? Who the other? I mean, yes, I'd go through it was nutty. I wish I could change, take back 10 of the roles, or 15 of the roles I turned down. But what I do think is different, it has nothing to do with acting. I think it just has to do with getting older. I mean, you're going to go one way or the other. You're going to get tighter-assed, and you're going to freeze and sit in front of a TV. Or you can go another way. You can try to you can evolve. You can know that every stage alters you.
Dustin Hoffman's goal was always to be the greatest actor there ever was. He's certainly gone down as one of cinema's best ever character actors. His amazing versatility is perhaps best summed up by a quote from Rain Man director Barry Levinson, who once said, "Dustin is one of a kind, and he's not one character. There's no Dustin Hoffman. He's many, many people."